What's good, y'all? Today I got one of my good friends, Ed Mathis. This guy is a brilliant guy in his industry. You need to reach out to him if you got any needs. He's already handling significant business for a lot of people out there. I think that so many people, especially in today's society, are looking to get into his industry and trying to figure out how to do what he's doing. And today we're going to flush out exactly what it took for him to get where he is and where he can go next, as well as, of course, we got to figure out what's the salary ranges for this type of industry. How hard is it to get this job? We're going to get down to a lot of those things, and we're also going to ask questions around whatever else he's going to be talking about, because this is going to be an engaging, fun conversation, especially because I know this guy, so he has a lot of personality, and I'm looking forward to hearing what he has to share with you all. So with that being said, let's get to the most important question that allows us to have this interview, which is, do you like your job, man?
Man, I actually do, man. I actually love it. I love it because it gives me a chance to be around be in the industry and around the product type that I like to do, which is commercial real estate. I love to be in it. I love to be around it. I love to talk to shops. So me being in the industry, I love it. I love my job, man.
Okay. What was the first, and we're gonna before we get all the way down there, let's start at the beginning. What was the first profession that you remember wanting to have as a youth?
Well, my first profession that I probably wanted to have was my uncle. He used to it used to be a place over in Roseline called Swift and Commons. It's Jordan Crossing now, but it used to be like an outdoor mall. And my uncle used to run. Well, I thought he owned it, but he didn't. He was actually a worker there, but he owned he ran an arcade. And I used to think he was like the bosses of all bosses, man. I'm like, this dude gets to run an arcade. He got all the tokens. Like he could give tokens to people if he wants to. He making money off the game. So I wanted to own like an arcade or, be some kind of entrepreneur like he was. Later on, when I got older, I found out that he didn't own it. He just kind of ran it for the guy. But in my mind, as a 5, 6, 7-year-old, I always wanted to like run something like he was.
Man, the mind of a child is so powerful, and that's one of those things where they can actually build an adult or their parent up just because of how they may see them as a hero. Just massaging that ego that we need to have massaged from time to time. Heck, when you say that, it makes me reflect on my cousin, who I'm going to get on here at some point. I remember that guy was the greatest football player of all time, according to me. I was probably maybe 5 or 6 or whatever, and he was a high school football player. Actually, right. No, I used to watch him play. I want to say Muni League, so it was before high school. And I would always watch those games, be at the games cheering them on. Porter man. like, and somebody asked me who your favorite. I remember my friends asked me, who's your favorite football player? And I would say my cousin every time. Like, I had no idea about any NFL players. To me, he was the greatest defensive end linebacker of all freaking time. And nothing. That's the power of a child, man. The power of a child. That's still my guy. Absolutely, I've always looked up to him. So when it comes to getting into your industry, what made you even interested first off to get there?
Yeah, so I always wanted to, just like I said, starting there with him, it kind of got my like entrepreneur wheels going. And I always, when I got to a certain point, I did like paper routes. Man, I worked everywhere. Paper routes. I worked at Porky's Farm in the barn, clean out the stables, all that stuff. But I always wanted to own a piece of property. Like I never knew anybody around me that owned any property that looked like me, especially on the commercial side. But I was just always drawn to it. It was to me, it was going to be either office buildings or it was going to be apartments. And I always was just drawn to it. And one of my favorite movies is Wall Street. So I'm just like always drawn to that like business aspect. And my wife should tell you, I watch that movie, man. I could watch it anytime I see it. I can just cut it on and watch it. So it's just like I'm just drawn to that business sector. So my mindset was like, if I'm gonna buy real estate, which I wanted to from an early age, it's always gonna be some kind of office building or something where I could just you know, I don't know, maybe it's just some kind of fixation I got with the business sector and business world. But I always wanted to be around that. So I just, as a young age, I was just like, I had like a vending company where I would go out of state, buy vending machines, bring them back here, put them on location, and I would take my brother with me to go pick up the vending machines. And we would spend half of the day when we get there riding around looking at real estate. Man, why they build it like this? We don't build buildings like that in Cincinnati. Why they do this and do that? And then we would go get the vending machines. So I'm just always drawn to real estate, man. It just was always a pull on me.
When you say you were, first off, how old were you when you were doing this vending machine thing? And also, how were you picking these things up? Because vending machines ain't like to just pick up.
Yeah. So I started doing like the vending company when I was maybe, I don't know, maybe I was maybe 25 or something like that. I was working at the bank. I was working at US Bank downtown. And I got real big into, like, I ran across a Jim Rome video one day, and he got to talking about, like, you know, how to save money, how to do this, how to do that. Then I ran into Les Brown. I was listening to his stuff. So I'm like, man, it was just feeding into my like entrepreneur side heavy. So I was like, I saved up some money, and I'm like, I watched a documentary about Warren Buffett, and they said the way he got, one of the things that he did when he got started, he did a ton of things, stocks, all that stuff, bought some land. But one of the things he did was, at an early age, he bought these pinball machines. And he was like, I put them in all these different barbershops, and I was making a decent amount of money. And then we moved and I sold them and all this stuff. So I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. I'm about to buy some vending machines. Like, you know, in my mind, I'm like, I'm the only person that's gonna have vending machines in the world. Like, I'm gonna get me some vending machines. So I went out and I bought I found a guy online, and I bought a boatload of those gumball machines. And I went around and nobody wanted them. Like, it was like, no, you can't put them here. I'll buy it from you, but I don't want you to put it in here. You know, this gum gonna get all on my carpet. So then I was like, well, I was stuck with those, and I just wholesaled them out. And then I went out and I was like, I told my brother, I'm like, look, man, I'm about to get some actual machines, the ones I could put pop and chips in. And he was like, well, you tell me and I'm gonna go. And he about my size. We played football together. I call him my brother, but we just real good friends. We've been knowing each other for maybe 20, 25 years. And we went to Nashville, and I picked up a vending machine, the first one. Then we went to Chicago. I picked up another one, put it on the back. I would rent a truck, bring it back to the city, put it in my garage until I could figure out what I could do with it, or call enough people that said that they wanted it. And then I would put it out there. And then I eventually just got out of it, though. But yeah, that was one of my first real actual business cards, shirts, all that stuff was a vending company.
That's pretty cool, and I actually like that. I mean, that sounds like something that was also somewhat of a side hustle option.
Yep.
All right, so I haven't actually even talked too much about side hustles. So since you brought it up, I would love for you to share. How does one even just? I mean, you hinted at it, but is it really that easy just to go buy a vending machine? Like, what's the average vending machine cost? Do you have to like get some type of license, or can you just find a pack of chips and granola bars or whatever and put whatever you want in there and sell it?
Yeah, so with the vending company, I mean, you could do, you know, you can get a vending machine, and if you know somebody, or you go to a barber shop and you like, you know, you've been going there for years, and the barber say he okay with you putting a vending machine there, you could stick it there. You don't really need a license, but if you were to get one, you need like a vendor's license where you can, you know, resell the different products and they can get sales tax off of the money. But most of the people, when they first start out, they just they find a machine. Machines probably range, like, if you just get a pop machine, you might get one for 4 to 5, 600. And then the ones that cost a little bit more is the combo machines where you got chips and pop. If anybody that watches this, if you get into the business of vending, I would definitely start with snack machines, because they're easier to maintain than soda machines, because soda machines, you have that refrigerant lines in the back and all that stuff. And it's only a select few people. I mean, I had to scour the earth to find one guy in Indianapolis that drove down here to refill one that I had, and to test it. Most of the places, when you call them, they just tell you to get, it's nothing you could do with it, get rid of it. So, if you want to get in the soda game, you want to make sure that you know exactly what you're looking for, and make sure that you don't buy a lemon. But I would tell people to start with snack machines because you got a shop right up in Dayton that's got every replacement part you can think of, and you can fix them yourself.
Man, I'm not gonna lie, you got me shook when you said $400 to $500. I expected that huge machine to be like at least. I thought you're def. I was like, when you said 4 or 5, I was like, okay, that makes sense. 1,000, and you went 100. I was like, whoa, wait, what?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I didn't buy. I'm a big proponent of not buying. I wasn't gonna buy a new. I was gonna buy a used. I was gonna buy a real good used one. So it took me a long time of searching Craigslist, searching online stores, and I would find a real good used one that might be a few years old, and it might have been sitting at a hotel or something like that outside of a hotel or inside. I found some over in Newport Police Station. They sold me theirs. They had like 3 machines. They sold them to me for like $600. So, you find good deals like that. And then you find ones that you can bring out, maybe change a few things and, refurbish. One thing I will say, the number one thing you're going to change on a vending machine, period, is the dollar exchanger. That thing go bad so fast, but it's easy to change. But yeah, you find a good deal on Craigslist, man. Those people, they get in the vending machine game and then they realize, like, I don't really want to call all these locations. I don't want to lug all this stuff around. So then they just sell it to you for cheap.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting, man. That's interesting. Okay, so the first job was based off of your uncle, and what made you change and switch from that to where you are now? Obviously, it sounds like there were multiple things along the way, which we'll definitely get
Yeah.
to. But what
Yeah.
was it that made you switch from wanting to do what he did to wanting to do what you do now? And I'm only asking that is because, frankly, many people, and it sounds like you've been dreaming about this for a long time. So you're not a part of this group.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, and we really ignore this, and this is important for people to catch, really give up on their dreams because of responsibilities, because of life hitting you so quickly that you just take on whatever's going to pay, opposed to whatever's going to make you happy and pay.
Right, right. Well, I don't want anybody to watch this to think that I just came out the gate like I knew that I like real estate, but I never knew anybody that had bought it or anything. So I didn't know any blueprints of how I was gonna get it. I didn't have any family connections or any lineages I could reach out to or anything like that. I just knew I liked it. But when I done, like I said, I've done plenty of jobs and I played football. So that was my number one. Once I left that dream of owning an arcade, I kind of didn't even think about that. Then when I got into middle school, high school, I played football and I thought I was going to go to the league. I was going to do all this stuff. Everybody, when they play football, they got dreams of going to the league and doing all these things. And then I did that, and I went to college for a while, came back, and then I trained with a group that was getting us all trained to get ready to do a walk on. We were gonna do a walk on for an indoor league, and then for the he had to set up another one for the Bengals. And then I tore my hamstrings up. Like 2 weeks, I was doing 40-yard dash. I tore them up. And then I realized, like, I got to do something else. And that kind of spiraled me out into doing other things. And then with the vending company, I wasn't doing really well with it because it was just kind of a side hustle. And then I told myself I need to find some people that can either, help me, run this thing. I need to find somebody that can help me, expand my knowledge further than what I had. And I went to a business carrier meeting. I spent like $30 to get into this meeting. And I had in my mind, like, I need to find an accountant. I need to find an attorney. And then I was like, well, if I can, I want to find a developer because I know I want to get into the real estate game at some point. So when I got to this meeting, it was just kind of like, I'm a big believer. I believe in, just to be upfront, I believe in God. I believe in, you put it out there, you put it out there and you think about it hard enough, you go after it hard enough, it'll come to you. And when I got to that meeting, it was like magnets. I was just getting drawn to these different people. And I got to sit down with like one of the higher ups at TAF Centennials downtown. I don't know how I got the meeting with the guy, but he sat me down. He took me to lunch with him and his assistant. And he was like, look, you seem like you're super driven. and it looked like you might be able to change some stuff in the city. So look, I want to introduce you to some people. And then he introduced me to my mentor, who is Richard Flynn. So Richard Flynn is my first real live mentor, where he set me down, and I came in there thinking that he was going to tell me tax tips on how to run this vending company. And he basically, in like a 10-minute conversation, told me that the vending company was trash. I need to get out of it. Like, so he was like, you ain't doing nothing with this. This thing is not going anywhere. And he was like, look, I want to mentor you. For some reason, I want to mentor you. You look like you person I want, you act like a person. You got the drive like a person I want to mentor. And I'm looking at this guy and I'm like, this dude, well established. He got real estate, commercial real estate everywhere. He's got, a thriving business. Everybody knows him. So I'm like, okay, like, absolutely. This will be an opportunity for me to expand my mind. And I sat down with him, and all I kept talking about was commercial real estate over and over and over again. And it's a building downtown that I was like dead set on buying. It's on Main Street. It's a high rise, like a skyscraper. And I was just gonna buy this. I was like, I'm gonna buy this building. And he like, do you know anything about commercial real estate? I'm like, no. He's like, what do you know about this building? I'm like, nothing. And he like, well, do you got the money? I'm like, no. He like, well, how you gonna buy the building? I'm like, I don't know. God gonna help me buy this building. I'm getting this building. And he was like, well, look, why don't you get into commercial real estate, get you a license, learn about the game, learn about the ins and the outs of it. And then if you want to continue to do it, I'll help you get the money to do it. So I got into commercial real estate, and, I fell in love with the broker side of it, because I'm learning everything, every aspect, contractors, all that stuff. And, that's where I'm at right now.
That's phenomenal, bro. So I heard you say something, and it takes a humble man to hear that. And I want you to explain how you heard it, how you received it, and what you did with the actual information, which was, you mentioned your mentor told you that, man, this machine game, vending machine game it's pretty much done. You're wasting your time. Right. And to just stop doing that. How did you, because that was something you were making money off of, it sounds like. Maybe not a lot, but it was a side hustle, and it was something that you put your energy and your investment into. So talk about that.
So, man, I'm a big believer in this, man. And I've been like this my whole life, whether I play football or I learned early playing football that it's not good to have to not be coachable, and to have a huge ego, where it's good to have an ego, but it's not good to have an ego that's not able to be flexed and molded and stuff like that. So I taking that from what I learned all my years of playing football. When he said that, I could have took it as ego and been like, this man don't know nothing about me. This is our first conversation. Who the hell are you? I could have did that, but I didn't. And I was like, I came in with the mindset of like, this man is accomplished. I don't have anybody else like this in my life, no matter whether white, black, brother, sister, uncle, cousin. I don't have anybody that's reached this height in my life. Who am I to tell this man, this is what he do for every day for a living. Who am I to tell this man, you know what, the hell with what you're talking about? I'm holding on to this small, minute thing in my life that's really, if I look at it in the grand scope, it wasn't really doing big numbers that I could took care of my family off of. And when I projected it, it really wasn't, I really wasn't willing to put the work in to put 1,000 machines out there or 5,000 machines out there to really make a payday off of this. So I'm like, he right. Let me take a step back. He's seeing it from a different lens than me. Let me look at what he's looking at. And when I looked at it, I'm like, my end goal in life, when I look at it, is to own rental property and to be able to set my family up and to be able to get my kids in the business if they want to, or get the connections to be able to put them in place to do what they want to do in life. And I looked at, if I do it the vending machine way, I'm not going to have those connections and property and stuff. But if I do it the commercial real estate way, getting into the game, I'm going to have all those things and be able to set my family up.
Man, facts. Okay, so what does having a mentor mean? Like, I'm big on mentorship, and I appreciate it. It's like every single person that has done these interviews with me have continuously talked about having some type of mentor in their process. So please develop so people can actually hear what the perspective of a mentee is, as well as what a mentorship can actually be like. What's your experience been?
Yeah. So to me, and a mentor is a person who you come to and you say, I want to get to this point in my life, whether that's be a firefighter, whether that's be a commercial real estate owner, whether that be whatever you want to do in life, whatever your end goal is, an artist, whatever. You go to this person, you say, this is what I want to do. It's not his job to sit down with you every single day and map out a plan for you to do X, Y, Z. But it's his goal in my mind, his plan is to sit down with me and say, Ed, you want to do this. I might have some connections that may be able to help you along the way, but my goal is to make sure you stay on this path, though. I'm not here to make sure that you hit goals every single day, but I want you to stay on this path. So if I see you veering off, you said you want to do commercial real estate, and this is a real example. I sat down with him about a month ago, and I've been knowing him now for about 6 years, well, about 5 years. And I sat down with him at a month. We went to lunch, and he's like, tell me what's going on. So I told him, and he was like, well, I've been seeing you on Facebook. You've been doing, you finally able to get the traction you're looking to get. What you got going on? And I told him, I was like, well, I went back to school and got my property management degree, diploma, and now I'm gonna be able to implement that. And immediately, like a red flag went off. He's like, what are you doing? Like, he's like, that's a great thing. You'll be able, I see what you're wanting to do. You want to make it a one-stop shop. But right now, you got the traction going here. You need to build this up and stay focused right here. And once you get to a certain point, you're able to bounce off. So that to me, that's the job of a mentor. And as a mentee, I need to be able to accept that. And it might not be exactly what he want me to do. I got to do it my way. And I got to be able to shape what he's saying into my way. But I need to internalize what he's saying and be like, okay, he's right. Let me slow down on this over here and focus more over here. And then I can build up a plan to attack this over here. So, that's, to me, that's what a mentor and a mentee relationship is him keeping you on a path to get where you told him you want to go. So,
and that's what I was looking for, because I was going to bring that up. For people that were listening to you speak, it is very important that they hear that last part. You aren't just doing whatever he tells you to do. You're doing whatever he tells you to do related to what you told him
what you
told him to do. And that's the part that people miss. Is like, you came to me for advice on this specific thing because I've done it. I've been successful. I have this wealth of information. So when I give you the blueprint, you don't have to make the same mistakes. You can stand on my shit and sit a little bit higher as I continue to push you there. So that's really important, because we're talking about so much about a way that, oh my goodness, sorry. We're talking about how, frankly, you were so humble that you could handle and receive a person telling you information like that. And that's a powerful thing, especially in this world where we're always right. And so many egos get in the way of success.
You know what? I see, and not to jump in and add extra information, but I see so many people, and when they come to you and they see what I'm doing, they see what you're doing, and they like, hey man, Mario, man, I see what you're doing, bro, and I want to get in this game. I want to get in this game and do this. And you like, well, look, this is, he like, well, what did you have to do to get what you get going? I want to do that. I want to do this. And you like, look, this is what I did. And then they tell you that you're wrong, or nah, that wouldn't work for me. That wouldn't do this. And it's like, if you came to me and you asked me about my journey, and you asked me how my journey can help you further your journey, and I tell you what it is, don't get mad at me because I told you something that in your mind you had fixed that wasn't, you thought it was going to be XYZ, and I told you it was ABC. Now you like, well, you wrong. That was just for you. This is the way that it's supposed to go. It's like, okay.
Yeah. That's. I mean, that you're on so many different paths right now in this conversation and how it can go. But I'm not gonna veer off. I feel like that might be a different interview for a different day, because man, to talk to people who know everything, it's frustrating because you see how little they know in them talking about knowing everything,
It's
and
true.
their arrogance and ignorance at the same time shine like a person with money who hit the lottery and never knew how to budget and burns through that money within a year. Like that's why the average lottery winner goes broke almost immediately, because they just, like, you buy $1 million house because you won 3 million and you got a problem there. Like, you're not gonna be able to stay in that
Right.
house for but so long. And you don't even realize it. And notice how hard he's laughing.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah,
truth, man. It's the
I mean,
truth.
out loud, it's like, I bought $1 million house. I got 3 million. I'm good. I'm gonna just sit on like
Yeah.
I'm gonna sit on 500,000 for the rest of my life. Well, no, you're not, first off.
No,
And
you're
second,
not,
that
man.
million gonna be ate so quick. But quick numbers,
It's the
quick numbers,
truth, man.
quick numbers. $1 million home or property is getting how much taxes? Like, how much are you being taxed on that? It
Well, it
just
just depend on where you at, but it's probably maybe, I don't know, maybe 7, 8% or something like that. I don't know. It just depends on where you at. Yeah, you somewhere probably about 7, 8% though. Yeah, on it. And you got to think of a man. I
Seven
was telling
is
somebody
about
this.
$70,000, $80,000. By the way, I just want
Yeah,
to
yeah,
get the perspective. That ain't just a little bit of money.
yeah. Then a little bit of money, and then you got to think about maintenance on top of that. Like, you got to have the grass cut, you got to have the pipes fixed, or you got to have, paint done to the building. It's like all these things you do throughout the year that you don't think about. Like, you just think about the house and the mortgage and this, but it's like a lot of stuff that you see. I like to watch a lot of documentaries about entrepreneurs or people that made their life up. You'll hear a lot of them say when they did finally grind and get it and hit it big, they did go out and buy that big house or that big car. But then you hear them also in that same conversation say that I sold it because I didn't want to keep up with that stuff because my money wasn't able to keep up. And it's like, you gotta, like, I'm not saying don't buy good things, because I'm definitely like, once God fully blessed me, I'm definitely gonna buy some stuff that I actually wanted. But I don't want to like Jim Rome always say, when you get that raise, you don't want to raise your status of living right up to the money, because it's like you never even got a raise, or you never even got blessed.
So, since you mentioned it, I just think it's very important to add on to what you're saying, because I heard what you said and they sold it. But I thought you were going to mention another part, because I've had mentors talk about this, and I've heard a lot of people also talk about how I bought that luxury car out there, and you're thinking I bought that. Truth be told, my stock
Oh yeah,
dividends bought that. I didn't
yeah,
actually buy
absolutely.
that. I made sure
Yeah,
that I
or
had
they,
like, I didn't,
yeah,
like, the money I earned. I'm
yeah,
not putting any of that money over there. It's like
yeah,
LeBron saying, I
yeah,
never
and
touched the NBA check. I've only used spend my sponsorship money, which means every single check in
yeah,
my career is mine still. So the stuff that I work hard for, I keep that. I spend money
yeah,
that I have on the side that's making money without me putting forth energy on these luxury items, so I don't have to spend any money
it's the
out of my
truth.
pocket. So, but you're talking about paths. So let's get straight to it, man. You mentioned your degree that you went got, which impressed your mentor. But I want to start from, let's say, if unless you think that we need to go before that, so we can see your blueprint, your layout. So if a person wants to take Ed Mathis route, they can boom end up at the same location. And based off of what you share, they might get there quicker. And you could also share what you would have done differently, that may have gotten you to your place faster. So let's start. Say it sounds like you went to college, obviously.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
So
start there. Let's start there.
okay, yeah, yeah. So I went to a small college up in Illinois called Rock Valley, right outside of Chicago. It's about an hour outside of Chicago, and they recruited me to play football. So I went up there, played football, did that thing. Then I came back, and then I went to work at all these different places, and then that's when I found the bank, and then I found vending company. Me and my wife, we got married, and then I from there, that's when I met my mentor, and he introduced me to my second mentor, which I'm a big proponent to have multiple mentors. Whatever game you in, it's different sectors that you need to have mentors for. So my second mentor is a guy that's like really, really well known in the commercial real estate as a broker. And you know, so I went out. My first mentor introduced me to Nick Barella. Yeah.
Explain what a broker is for anybody who doesn't know.
So a broker is in the commercial real estate world and in the residential real estate world. It's the person who holds the real estate license, uh, and they're the one that can do the transaction. Because in real estate, it's a weird way they do things. It's like if I'm, let's just say Ed Mathis holds the broker's license for ABC Realty, then the other agents under me, they technically don't hold a broker's license. They can't commit a transaction. They're basically doing transactions through me. So if anything happened, they're basically a repeat of me. Like that's how they write it in the book. They're basically mini me's. And then when they do a transaction, it goes through Republic or it goes my company Republic, and then it goes through Nick Barella. And then so if anything happens, it comes back on Nick Barella. So that's why they got to be real careful who they hire or let do, you know, be an independent contractor or an agent, because you want to make sure that the person doesn't do any rogue transactions that could fall back on your license. So that's a broker. So somebody who holds the license for the firm. And sometimes they don't even do transactions. These people just literally only have a broker's license and they don't work in the business at all. They just charge the the X amount of employees that they have, a fee to work for them. So it's kind of a good business model if you want to just, you know, say if you're a developer or you're a real estate agent, and you like, I'm just going, I want to really just be in rental properties, but I'm gonna hold my license and make other people pay me fees to be under my license and hold their license. And I never have to do a transaction, but they're going to pay me every month to have a license with me. So that's kind of the setup of the brokerage. But I got with him, and as I got with my second mentor, the broker Nick Barella, we sat down and he got to talking, and we believed the same faiths, and we start talking, and he's like, man, like, dude, you got whatever it is, you got it. Like, you got the, with like, I root for you because you kind of like the underdog where you come from. Like, you don't have anybody around you that knows commercial real estate. So he's like, look, I'm gonna give you 10 brokerages to reach out to in the city that I got personal relationships that I know. I want you to go interview with all 10 of these brokerages. And then if you don't like any of those and you want to come work with me after you finish your school and or college work at Hondros, you can come work for me. So I'm like, okay. So I went out and I that day, like soon as he gave it to me, as soon as I walked outside, I sat in the car and I sent out an email blast to everybody like, hey, I want to set up a meeting to come down and interview to be an agent for you. You know, I'm in school right now. I'm ready to be an agent. I heard back. Said again.
What age is this?
So this is 20. This is 27.
Okay.
So this is 27. So this is like 2 years after I did the vending company and stopped. So I stopped at like 27, and I started the real estate side at about 27.
And you were in college at the time.
Yeah, so I left. I finished main college, which was in Rockford, Illinois, and then to get a real estate license, you got to attend another college, which is Hondros Business College up in Westchester, or you can go other places. They got online stuff too. But
you graduated your college with what degree?
Associate. So I'm like computer science or something, man. Like business management, business administration. You know, just like something real arbitrary. After I got out of football, like our football team was no good. Like it was like I was like it was terrible. So I was like I just kind of got burnt out and was just like I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go home, and I did the 2 years and then I left. Yeah, I got out of there, and came back. So. But yeah, I came back and I started like trying to do some Cincinnati State. I just wasn't into school any further than what I did. But until I got into commercial real estate, and I was like, oh, I can use school to get the degrees and the knowledge that I need to further my career. So that's when I got back into school.
Okay,
But
back
yeah,
to 27.
yeah. So back at 27, so I did that. I sent it out to 10 brokerages, 10 big brokers, the CERE, the Cushman Wakefields, all the ones you see the big red signs or blue signs on buildings. I reached out to all of them. Yeah,
Yeah.
Nair, all of them. I reached out to every one of them. So I did that. I heard back from, out of those 10 people, I maybe heard back from 4 or 5. And they said they would do an interview with me. And I came down. And then when every one of them saw me, they told me no. They were like, immediately no. Or they put me through a test, some litmus test, and said, well, you don't fit the criteria for here. And then I had one guy say, you don't look like a prototypical commercial real estate agent. And then I had one older guy that's well known in the business basically tell me directly, say, African Americans really don't have the history of being in the commercial real estate sector. And that was basically what he said he wasn't going to hire me for, because I don't have the connections, or the African Americans don't have the lineage of being in commercial real estate. So he didn't really want to waste his time. But that was, I mean, he was just blunt, straightforward with it, that he wasn't hiring me because of that. So I went back to Nick and the original guy, and I'm like, I did what you told me to do. Nobody wants to hire me. You could call him and talk to him. I gave him my best shot, and they don't want it. And he's like, well, I believe in you, man. You believe in my faith. You believe in, I believe in you because you got a drive about you, because I don't know how you got a hold of me. And he was like, well, I'll hire you, man. If you go to school, do your hours, take your tests and pass, I'll get you. So I went back to Hondros Business College, and to get a real estate license, you got to do 120 hours of schooling full time. So I would have to go there for a whole day and all that stuff. I had to pay like close to $2,000 that I didn't have. I had to figure out where to get the $2,000 from, and did all that stuff, passed my test, and then I started working with Nick Barella, my second mentor. I started working with him in 2016.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, how much does it cost to attend real estate school? Is it real estate school?
Yeah. So at Hondros, at the time when I went, it was about $1,800. It's like $1,850, but I think now it may be a little bit cheaper.
Total? Or
But
is that a quarter?
Say it again.
Are you saying total, or is that a quarter?
Total. Yeah. So total, they'll break it down for you, and you can maybe pay like, I don't know, $800 up front, then others or whatever, they'll break it down for you. But yeah, it's about eight. When I went, it was 1,850 in total. And I might have got a little bit of a deal, but it was about that. Yeah, to go
How
to the
long did
school.
it take, like, to graduate? The
It
average time.
took maybe 3 months, because it was like you go for a whole day, but it could go further. It can go longer if you didn't go. I was just like, I want my license now, and I went like for the whole day classes. I just went and got it over with. But you could stretch. Some people stretch it out, as far as they working with their current job. They may go a half day here, online class there. But I went and just hit it hardcore and got it out the way.
Okay. So now you're working for your guy because you just graduated, and that's not? I mean, that's 2016. So how do we get to where we are now, and what are the titles that you've carried thus far?
Yeah, so I came in as a low level associate, and basically he was like, you kill what you eat what you kill. So, and what I mean by that is, you go out, whatever you sell, you get the commission off of that. So I went out and like, man, I had no experience in it. And in Hondros, 90% of the agents that come through there are for the residential side. So that's why you see so many residential agents, everybody selling houses. So Hondros, their schooling is directly catered to residential side. So they really taught me nothing about the commercial side. So I went from there to just basically, I would get with him and be like, what do I do here? I got this guy on the phone that said he might want to let me list his building, but how do I do it? What do I do? So he was just there as a mentor to teach me what to do. And then he's a bigger broker. So bigger brokers don't really like to deal with like small office buildings, because they got to do a lot of work to get any kind of sizable commission out of it. So he had one lady that kept bugging him about taking her building under, and she had it. It was about 20%. It was about 80% vacant, and but it was all small little like 300 square foot offices, like little bitty things that are not going to really produce a lot of money. So he was like, hey, for your first project, I can give you a building. I'm like, I can give me a building, give it to me. He was like, well, first, it's all the way in Westchester and it's 80% empty. And she hasn't been able to sign a lease for about 3 years. But if you want it, you can have it. So I'm like, well, I live on the west side of Cincinnati. It take me about 30 to 40 minutes to get out there. I'm starting in this game. I don't have any money for real because I spent it all trying to get a license. And he's like, you want it, you can have it. So I'm like, I'm taking it. I don't care what I got. I don't care if I got to ride a scooter, get out there. I'm going to get out there.
What?
Say it again.
You can have it means what? Like, what does that actually look like? Like, I paid $100,000 for this thing. You can have $100,000 investment. You take on the taxes and things like that. What does it look like?
Yeah. Well, what he meant is the lady that owned the building, she couldn't sign a lease for 2 years. So she kept begging him to list the property to help her fill it up. So basically find tenants. So he's like, I'm not, and not in an arrogant way. He's just like, he's in the point of his career where leasing out 300 square foot offices was really not, it was really not going to benefit him. So he's like, you as a new agent, if you want this property to list it and try to fill it up and make a little bit of money off of it, I'll let you go ahead and find tenants for this building. You can have it. You can be the main broker on it. And you can, that'll be like your marquee property, but it's in bad shape and you can have it though. Like, I'll sign that over to you. So I'm like, okay, I'll take it. So I took it on and I just start hammering away at Craigslist, Facebook, everywhere. And I took her from 80% empty to 100% full. She couldn't even pay her property taxes before I got there, but just working away at it, I was able to fill her back up. And now she's able to pay her property tax. She's actually buying more property and doing all kinds of stuff. But she had a guy before me that was just not doing the job. But that was my first taste of, okay, this is what I got to do. These are what people like. This is how you stage an office to make it work. It was just my first crash course. It was kind of like when you work in a retail environment and they just throw you on the cash register and be like, figure it out. Like, so that was just kind of my figure it out moment, was to throw me in that building up there. So yeah, so I kept doing that. I started taking on more properties. He started giving me more. I started noticing him giving me more responsibility on his side. So he'll get a building. He's like, instead of him doing it himself, he'll call me and be like, Ed, I got this new building and I know you got a lot of clients and you're doing a lot of stuff. Hey, would you like to work on this with me 50-50? So I'm starting to work on more marquee properties and more properties that make you a little bit more money, because he's like, hey, this guy really knows what he's doing. He's a hard worker. Let me start giving him more responsibility. And then in 2018, I was able to get up to vice president. So I got elevated to vice president of the company. And then he started giving me even more responsibility. And then I start pulling in properties on my own. So he elevated me a little bit more, still a vice president, but it's like right next door to him. He elevated me up a little bit more. So right now, it's just pretty much me and him running the day by day, getting stuff done.
What's the in between? You said all I heard was associates, and now was vice president. So
yeah, so the normal progression inside of a brokerage is usually low level associate, senior associate, and then it's like one more after that, and then it goes to vice president, and then senior vice president. So I did so well on those first couple properties, and then he was checking in on me. I started calling so many people and cold calling so many people that I was actually running into his clients and people he do business with. And he's like, man, like this dude is really like out here working, because he told me when he first hired me, he's like, most people that get into the commercial real estate side, because they don't know anybody, they only last for maybe a year. And then they maybe 6 months to a year, then they quit because they like, it's just too hard to get business. So he's like, man, this dude, you know, even through the lean times, he's like, he's still working and calling people. So he's like, he jumped me past the all the intermediate stuff and jumped me straight to vice president on the thing, because he's like, man, this dude deserves it. Like he's been working hard. And also I think it was a little bit of, he's like, I see you working super hard, but the industry in a whole still look at African Americans like we can't do the job. So I think in his way, he's like, you deserve this title, so I'm gonna give you the title, but it's also gonna reflect to the people who looking at this when you email them and write them. It's going, I think a little, and I can't speak for him, but I think a little bit of that is like, let me help you get a little bit more stature to meet up where what you're doing, so you can get into these other doors also, because people are real, like, you know, in this game, it's real interesting. Last year, and just numbers, last year, commercial real estate brought in 300 billion in revenue, and that's brokers, that's developers. We're talking about back office, we're talking about architects, all that stuff. Uh, in leadership, our management roles in the commercial real estate, like me, vice presidents, associates, anybody in leadership roles in the entire sector and around the globe, only 1% of those are minorities. And when they say minorities, they're not, we're probably, African Americans is probably 1% of that 1% is doing stuff. So it's definitely a stigma. People look at you and be like, do you really know? Because they haven't seen anybody of African American or Black. They haven't seen anybody manage properties and get stuff done. So they just, you know, they shun you off unless you come in with some kind of stature, or you come in with somebody kind of vouching for you, and then they're willing to work with you.
Okay. So what are, you mentioned he was impressed with you because he knew how hard you were working, especially knowing how hard the industry is. With that, what are these challenges that you're referencing outside of the fact that being a Black man, it's a rare thing in this industry, and so they may not have the trust in you to do your job the way that you're completely capable of doing, despite the quote unquote
Yeah.
racism.
So commercial real estate is just a hard industry in general, because you're dealing with a lot of type A personalities and high strung people and hard personalities and egos. And you got to be able to break through and get them to, this might be their life's work. They might have mortgaged their house 15 times to get this one building. And they're like, I got to be able to trust that you're going to handle my baby. This is, I gave everything in my life. They might have almost went bankrupt to have this building. And they got to be able to trust that you're gonna make it work for them and make them money. So it's just about, it's an industry that you got to cold call a lot. You got to be in people's face a lot. One guy that I worked with, he said he called it shoe leather, and it's really about, you got to be out there knocking on doors. You got to be at these events. You got to be in people's face, man, because they got to know that you're an active person in this lane for them to be able to want to work with you. And it's a hard game to break through in, man. It's just, you know, you working you on clock all the time. I mean, after this, I'm probably gonna be sending emails, or if somebody call and say, hey, look, man, I can't come see the building during the week. I need to come see it right now today. I got to be willing to get up and leave my family and go show this property and come back, because if I don't, and I don't lease out the building, and you get fired from that list, and that thing it vibrates through the community, and people are like, you getting fired from listings, I don't want to work with you. So it's like, you got to be able to go. You got to be able to go where other people don't want to go.
Okay. Um, we're in a pandemic. Hopefully, by the time this airs, we may be over it because the vaccine has officially been approved, or maybe I'm speaking too soon. Whatever. That's why that ain't my job. Nonetheless,
Right.
how has COVID impacted you? I mean, I work in an industry where I'm doing my job from home. A lot of people doing a job from home. the country and the threats about shutting down and businesses recognizing we don't need all of this space. So how has COVID impacted you? And I guess what is the future of commercial real estate if you think it's impacted you all's industry in a way that may truly fracture the way it's done in the future?
So me personally, I had really got, I guess when you in the business or you in any business, you start feeling yourself hit a stride and you like everything is starting to click now. All of the sacrifice, all the work, all the things that I put in up until this point is really coming in. It's like finna take a head and really I'm gonna get the payout that I was looking for. So I had got to that point. I was getting recognized in different things. They had wrote about me a couple of times. I had clients reaching out to me. I had a couple big deals in the pipeline that was gonna probably make the paper. Like they were like multi-million-dollar deals in the pipeline, and we had contracts out on them. And I'm like, wow, I finally am at this point where I feel good. And then COVID happened, and everything just hit a stop. All the contracts that I had in place went away because they wanted to see how this thing, because everybody thought it was going to be maybe a month, couple weeks, and then we're going to figure this thing out. But once it reached past like 2 months, everything just died. Like everything died. Like, and it wasn't just for me, for everybody. The only people that things were still alive for was people that was in the warehouse or industrial place. They were the only ones that were able to keep going because you got Amazon, Kroger, all of these places that online shoppers are doing. They need warehouses, so those people stayed good. They stayed alive, but most of everything else pretty much fell by the wayside. Um, Office. I'm traditional. My two main focuses is office retail, and office and retail were the two that got hit the worst. Like they retail, obviously restaurants and stores. You weren't allowed in stores really. Restaurants were pretty much shut down. And offices, most of the CEOs and owners of these businesses, they obviously, like you said, they home to work. So it was like, I don't need office space right now. And the office space that I do have, I'm looking to shrink that. Like I was talking to a guy, AT&T downtown. They had 5 floors in the office tower they got. And now they're shrunk down to maybe 1 floor. And they said they're trying to figure out how they could squeeze it to a half a floor and only bring in management and have rotating desks and stuff like that. So it's like, I truly feel I was able to maneuver. And because I had those small offices, buildings, and entrepreneurs are always trying to figure out a way to get going. So they're always grabbing small offices, and they're not a lot of money on the commission side, but it kept me active. But the people I feel really bad for is the people who have specialized in office towers downtown in the CBD or Central Business District. Those dudes are taking a punishment right now because nobody wants to be in those office towers. Like, and then the CEOs who are trying to be courageous and say, bring my employees back, they're getting punished because the employees are like, I don't want to get sick. I'm not going back there. Did the landlord retrofit the building for the AC is contained on 1 floor each? And it's like the landlords aren't willing to retrofit these buildings. So the CEOs are trying to tell employees to an unsafe environment. So it's like, it's hard to lease anything down there. Like, so I feel bad for those guys and restaurant people too. But the retail industry, man, I feel like it's gonna always be willing to bounce back. It might trans a little bit, but it's gonna bounce back because entrepreneurs, man, entrepreneurs are always looking for the new way they can get their entrepreneur there. Like they trying to figure out different ways to make stuff happen. You don't see us in the corporate office, they're like they're looking at the corporation. They're not looking at bringing people back or starting nothing new. But entrepreneurs in the retail and small offices, they're always doing stuff and moving around. So I think they'll bounce back. It's just going to be a little while.
Yeah, yeah. What do you think? And I'm asking, this is kind of your professional opinion at this point when I ask you this question. The fuel collectors out there,
Mm-hmm.
those shared spaces. What do you think the future of that is? Because I think that, I mean, based off of how this thing is working, I could definitely see that as the future, especially if companies are like, you know, we're not going to cover this space, but we might give you a discount on like buying out like a membership for Fuel Collective. You there? From your expert opinion, fuel collectives out there, the shared spaces where the entrepreneurs are going and the business people are going that aren't necessarily working from their offices, these things existed prior to COVID. What do you think the future of those are? Do you think those are the actual future? Because that's where I think this whole thing may go. What do you think?
I definitely think that that's the direction. I just had a group looking to lease a whole office floor of ours and do that. And turn it's called co-working 1010. They're up in Indianapolis, but they're looking to expand. But I think that's the future, man. People, I think it's gonna always be a sector of people that want to be in private offices and stuff like that. But I think the days of um I want to have the window corner office in the office tower. I think those days are gonna die, and I think that people are gonna want to work together, especially younger people and people who want to have vibrant businesses. They want to see other people and bounce ideas off of each other, and they don't want to. And some of those places are perfect. They can go in there and just pay for a membership. They can run in, have their meetings, get their coffee. Even some of them got bars in them. They can go in and have a happy hour with a client. Like those are perfect. So I think that those are going to be the wave, but it's going to always be a place for traditional office space. But I think the new wave is definitely going to be co-work.
Co-working spaces. Okay. Um, how about the conversation? You've mentioned it a couple times. Well, you mentioned it subtly, actually. I want to talk about what made you choose commercial instead of, well, everyone else knows. I mean, regular real estate, residential. I don't know if that's regular, but I say it's regular because everyone needs a home at least,
Right.
and so that would make it more regular than anything, in my opinion. But what made you choose that over residential? Yeah.
Yeah. So I've always just been drawn to, like I said, the business side. So I'm always drawn to, like, office settings, corporate settings. Like that's just always been my thing. And but also residential to me is it's just too emotional, man. It's too emotional. Commercial is more transactional. It's like I know I can do this amount of space because my bottom line is telling me this. And then the last thing that comes into place is, do I like the space? Do I think that it's a good location? Well, I won't say it's a good location, but is the building set? Do I like the settings? Do I like the amenities? But the first thing that happens is it's a transaction. I need to know, do you have space that can have 3 rooms in it and that can be $800 a month? And if you say yes, then they come out and look, and then you might get a little bit of emotional at the end where they're like, I don't like the color of this paint and all that stuff, but it's mainly a transaction, and I like that.
What's the best part, since you're talking about what you like? What's the best part of your job?
The best part of my job is I've noticed during the time of me doing commercial real estate or doing real estate period, I'm starting to gravitate to a certain sector, and they're like me, entrepreneurs, people who want to get stuff going, people want to set stuff up with their family. So I like the side that I'm able to work with entrepreneurs, people like Davis Cookie Collection that I put over in Bond Hill, family business that's driven, hardworking entrepreneurs that want to get it done and they want to be able to change the fabric of the city. Because I feel like the corporate is always going to be the Mercies and the places like that are always going to have say so because they got deep pockets. But the thing that really make a city go is entrepreneurs like you, like me, like Davis Cookies, like Nove by Christina, like people like that smaller entrepreneurs that have expiring to expand. Those are the people that make a city go, and I like that. Those are the people I like to deal with on a day by day. No matter, I'll do a corporate one because corporate come with a lot of money, so I'll work with them. But I definitely like to, if I have my preference, I like to work with smaller entrepreneurs.
Okay, so you mentioned the fact that the I'm hearing spirit. You haven't said spirit, but I'm putting spirit in there primarily because of the fact that, are you there? Did I lose you? Okay, wait,
Yeah,
move. Okay, I got you.
yeah, no, I'm here. I can hear you.
All right, perfect. I seen you move again. All right. So you've mentioned you've mentioned being an entrepreneur several times. Are you talking about the entrepreneurial spirit, or do you have some type of ownership of your company? Can you elaborate on that? Because obviously, I mean, I definitely know that when it comes to real estate, you have to have a
And
spirit.
before I answer,
Huh?
one, let me do this that way. That way, it stop jumping. Let me switch before I answer that question.
I'm gonna ask the question again. Just just make sure.
Okay, just
Yeah.
1 second. Let me switch this over before it does that again. Let me switch it over.
You on a hotspot?
No, no, I, I, I think what's going on because it's raining and I'm not sure, but I think the Wi-Fi is acting up because of that. So let me switch it over to this, and it should be okay. Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Go
So
ahead. I'm good.
okay. So you've mentioned several times being an entrepreneur, and you mentioned working for Republic, right? So can
Yep.
you explain what it means to be an entrepreneur while working for a company like that? Because I understand the type of hustle, the type of energy, the big risk that comes with this, which is something we're going to talk about in a second related to how you get paid. But can you elaborate on the entrepreneurial aspect of your job?
Yeah. So the entrepreneur aspect of the job is you work you working for commission only, man. So it's like you got to be out here hustling every single day. You got to have a one guy that I used to when I first came back from college. I worked as a bouncer at a club, and he was like, "Man, you got to be fly fishing. You got to fly fish. You got to keep your hook out there fly fishing." And I use that today, like, cause I think about that, and I'm like, that's what I do every day. I'm fly fishing. I got the hook out there every day, no matter if somebody's calling, nobody's returning my emails. I'm always pounding. I'm always hitting the pavement. I'm always looking for what's the next thing I can sink my teeth into and help come to fruition. So I'm always working. That's the entrepreneur side of it. Is that you got to be nonstop hustling 7 days a week, 365.
Yeah, yeah, and I appreciate you mentioning that, but I also want people to understand because that is a horrifying thing for many people who are
Absolutely
accustomed to getting
is.
checked every single week or every other week or whatever the way your pay period works. Uh, it's important that they understand the context. So, give me the average building may sell for what?
Let's just say on the commercial side, the average building is probably 500,000.
Okay. And if I'm correct, and definitely please correct me because you know better. Your percentage that you're getting was that 5 to 10%, between 5 to 10% cut.
So it's usually you yeah, so usually it's usually it's 6%.
Six, okay. And 6% looks like what? I don't feel like doing that quick math. You
Yeah,
actually
no, so let's just say the average building is 500,000, 6% is about 30,000.
boom.
Yeah,
That's
so six,
one
yeah,
sale. And
yeah,
that
one sale.
yeah, so that's why I'm saying like you're hearing this, it sounds horrifying, but it reaps really great rewards. If you can sell, I mean, maybe 5 of those in one year, think about how much money you could be bringing in. I don't know how many you're selling in a year,
Absolutely.
but I'm just saying that
Right.
obviously there's a great return on the gamble that you're taking. So you're getting lumps.
Yeah, yeah. So also you got to think on the commercial side. What I like about it is that you could also lease. So lease is the same amount. You get the same type of treatment as you would on a sale. So say if I'm not good at selling buildings, but I'm good at leasing them, so I could find a space 10,000 square feet for a person and they lease it out for 5 years, it might still, the aggregate of the lease might still equal out to 500,000, and I still take away my six. Landlord is still honoring. You just when you, because you ramp up just side of it, you like perfect. Like this is why I'm doing it.
Okay. Okay. So we've talked about that. I really want you to break down what the pay period feels like. I mean, you're talking about it right now, but truly allow somebody to understand how one like yourself survives doing this job through the stress.
Yeah,
And this sounds stressful as heck to me related to commission, but
yeah,
the
yeah.
payoff seems significant. So, what does a year look like, or even your slowest year? So you don't have to talk about right now, or whatever you
Yeah.
want to talk about, but just definitely break down what a year pay period can look like.
Yeah, so I would say a year pay period probably for, if you look on the sites, the average year pay period for most commercial real estate agents is about six figures. Well, about between 80 to 100,000. I'll say 80 to 100,000 is usually the average. So probably average out to a decent sized corporate job. You got a decent corporate job, it's probably about the same pay. Uh, the pay period goes like me working with a client for about 3 to 6 months, trying to get everything nailed down. And then we sell, then it's working with the landlord to get the payment, get it over to my brokerage. And then the brokerage processes it, do whatever they need to do with it. And then they send me my cut. And then I have to handle all of the things that I've been waiting for, to handle, whether that's bills, fixing this, fixing that, out of that payment. So the one thing of advice my mentor in the real estate game told me, he was like, fill up your pipeline, fill up the pipeline. And I've always heard that when I was in banking, they was always talking about fill up the pipeline. But like here it's extremely important to have your pipeline full, because things happen. Commercial real estate, you might think a deal's finna close, and then all of a sudden somebody hits you with an extension. So you counting that money before it get there, and then all of a sudden you got to wait an extra 60 days. So it's like you always got to have some kind of deal closed, and I don't care if it's small or large. You got to be working on stuff. So my advice for anybody aspiring to get into it, you need to work on a lot of stuff, get your hands in a lot of pots, and then some of them might die out, but some of them might come true, and you might get two or three of the big ones to close at the same time. But you got to also still be working it, because you never know. Like you might go on a drought, and you want to make sure that you got some stuff put up. So that's why I'm a big proponent to having several things going on at the same, not several, but have other side things going. Like I got a signage company, and also I'm trying to work on getting in deeper into like the investment game. So when these droughts and these valleys do happen, I can lean on these other things to be able to bring me through.
Yeah, yeah, man. Whew. That's intense, bro. I like that is intense. So let's talk the positive side. What's the dream? We're in Cincinnati. You also have a license for Kentucky too, right?
Right, right.
All right. So what is the dream project? Price, the actual payout to you here in Cincinnati, and obviously, if you don't know what the actual price of, say, the dream building is downtown, just make up some numbers so we can have an understanding.
So my dream goal right now at this moment, and it might shift after I hit this, but my dream goal is to I want to do a $1 million sale. I haven't been able to do. I've got an 800,000. I got a 900,000, but I want to get I want to get $1 million sale, and not just for the payout, but I want to be able to say that I hit $1 million sale, and also to qualify to get into different areas in the commercial real estate world. You got to have $1 million sale, or you got to have in a whole in 1 year, you got to have over $2.5 million worth of sales to qualify to be into the different realm. And I want to elevate the level that I'm at, and meet some new people to elevate my network. So I want to be able to hit that $1 million sale point, or that 2.5 aggregate over the year, before I can get into that next circle.
Okay. Okay. And once again, we're talking about a $60,000 payout. Maybe, I mean, we're talking a million. Is it still 6%? Is it 6% nonstop, or do you have times where
Yeah,
they fluctuate higher to like an 8 or a 9?
well, yeah, it's usually the absolute highest is usually 6%. Every now and then, if they got a real trouble property that they can't get leases on at all, they might up it to like an 8%. I even seen some that was out in Westchester that they couldn't get a tenant in for years. The landlord was like, he'll give a 10% or a 15% if you can bring a quality tenant for 5 years. So if they get real desperate, it'll go up. But on the everyday, it's usually 6%. And then if me and another agent are working on it, he get 3, and then I'll get 3.
Okay. Okay. Well, man, I think you gave a lot today. I think that people are definitely gonna take this information, hopefully use it to get into the industry. The last thing I'll say is can you go ahead and put a bow on the whole get into the actual job conversation by explaining what it looks like if you don't have your mentor? How does
Yeah.
one go ahead and get a position in this industry? And I recognize there can be an uphill battle based off of certain conversations that may happen with people, but throw that part
Yeah,
out.
absolutely.
What the actual ideal, the usual way of getting this job? What is it?
So just straightforward, this is how it goes. You go, you say, hey, I want to get into real estate, whether that's residential or commercial. The first thing you want to do is go to either Hondros Business College, which is in Westchester. You want to go to Cincinnati State. And then I think they have an online course that you can take as well. But that'll get you qualified for the hours that you need to get your license. So once you take that, you pay that, you take the courses. The next thing that you do is go to the testing site, which is in Sharonville, and you go there. You sit down. You pay $100, I believe. You take the test, and the test is about, I don't know, about an hour or too long on the computer. Probably can go faster or slower depending on who you are. But you take that test, and if you pass that test, I think it's like a 70% or higher. You pass that test, you qualified to be able to have your license. Uh, at that point, really before while you're in school, but at that point, to have a license with a broker, you got to be sponsored to get your license. So sponsorship means I go to Mario. Mario is the broker over a brokerage, and I go to him and I say, Mario, I really would love to work for Mario Realty. I would love to work here. And he says, okay, I'll sponsor you. So sponsor you basically means I'll hire you if you get a license. I'll hire you and put you under me as as an agent under me. So once you get somebody to sponsor you, you take your test, you do your hours, they send you your paperwork, and then you go to Mario. I give him the paperwork and say I passed. He sends it off to the state, and then the state sends him back your license. So me as an agent, I never hold my license physically in my hand. The only person that holds my license is the state and the broker over the agency. So they're the only two that can have your license. Whatever weird reasons, they probably just don't want anybody to have it but the broker, because you're a mini me of him. So he'll have your license, and then you're off and running. You can work. Most brokerages, they take a percentage. So it's like if you sell 100,000, it's 50% cut. If you sell over this amount, it's 25%. But once you start hitting thresholds, the money that they take out comes down. And then some of them you just work, 100% what you sell is what you take in. So, that's what I would be looking for, bro. Me personally, the way that I'm set up, I would be looking for brokerages like that because I want all of my money, because I'm not really in it to be a broker for life. I'm really in it to learn the industry and make the money to be able to become a developer or buy properties on my own, the sizable properties downtown. So I'm really in it for a different game. I'm not here to be here forever. But if you're here to be here forever, find you a quality brokerage who has a lot of schooling, a lot of education stuff and training, and then somebody who has a strong support system that you can lean on when you need help to list your properties or help broker, being an agent. So that's the kind of the scope, of what you would need to do. Even if you didn't have a broker or a mentor, you would need to just go to school, get your license, take the test, and then get sponsored by a brokerage, and then go to work.
Okay, okay. Well, I definitely appreciate your time, man. Let's do this. Do me a favor and break down whatever you want to be as your take. Like, all right, man. So definitely appreciate this. This is amazing. And what I want you to do right now is, if you have a takeaway, what is it?
The takeaway for me uh, in the industry, or just whatever you decide to do, it doesn't have to be commercial real estate. One thing you need to do is always be learning, always taking in information, always willing to be flexible enough to learn, and also read, man. Expand your mind and read. I get up every day between 5 and 5:30, and I do my rituals and write, and then I read a chapter or two. The book that I'm in right now is it's actually right here. Book that I'm reading right here is 12 week year. This is actually a really, really, really good book, man. It breaks down the stuff that you would do in a year. It breaks it down into a 12-week cycle so you can get more done. So for a person like me who working on 100% commission, and then I'm working in a signage company who got 100% commission, I need to be able to stay active and engaged all the time. So I would definitely recommend for you to get books that expands your mind, whatever industry you're in, get books in that industry. And if you don't have I was listening to Eric Kearney say something. He was saying that when he got into being an attorney, he said that he didn't have mentors and stuff to glean on. So he said that he just started modeling people. And I do believe in that. So read books, watch documentaries of other entrepreneurs or people in that industry. And if you don't got nobody to lean on, model them until you're able to either be the person that can teach other people, or you run into a person who's willing to take you under their wing or be your mentor.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. That's big. That's big time. I appreciate you. Everybody, I think that you all have gotten exactly what you came here for. I hope that you all leave out now with the clear understanding of how you can become the next Ed Mathis and make your name even bigger, because he gave you some of the inside secrets of what you got to do in order to be successful. He told you be coachable, be coachable, be coachable, please. He also has broken down how important it is to be persistent about what you want. Have the nerve to step up and recognize, yeah, they said this and it doesn't matter. I know what I want. I know what's in my heart, and I'm going to follow that no matter what. I also know that I need to learn what other people are doing, learn from people who are doing it. And as he just said, find a model. If you don't necessarily know how to be the perfect example of what you want to be in your industry, find somebody who is for you and copy them until you figure out your own personal identity. So I think that this was a great, great interview. I look forward to you all's feedback after this, but I definitely appreciate you again, my brother. Thank you for your time on this Sunday, and two of these.
Know it.
Woo, Jesus! I was hoping we